Hello, welcome back. We are four struggling filmmakers. My name's Emma. Joined with me is James.
Hello.
Noah.
Hello.
And Jimmy.
Hello.
As you might have noticed, we're also doing another guest week this week. We are joined with none other than Josh Barker. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Josh.
Okay, so I'm Josh. I went to uni with these lovely four. And yeah, currently not actually in the industry, so I am definitely struggling. I have a YouTube channel that's kind of dormant, but you can find me. It's just Josh Barker YouTube. But yeah, you can see all my films on there, to be fair, if anyone is interested, because I'm sure we'll end up discussing some of the ones which I've made with you guys. So
next up, we've got our lovely recommendation section. So who has a recommendation?
This will be my final time I'm going to plug my film Twitter. After this, I'm going to be done for a while. But for March, I've been watching a film a day for every letter of the alphabet. I'm done now, watched them all. So if you want to go and see what films I watched, check out the account. But final recommendation, I watched Widows by Steve McQueen. It's a really smartly written heist film that's got some really cracking actors in it who do some fantastic work. It's got like Viola Davis, Elizabeth Debicki, Liam Neeson, Daniel Kaluuya is great in it. So yeah, I won't say much more than that. It's definitely worth a watch, and it surprised me at how high quality it was for a simple heist film. But yeah, it's good. Would watch.
I watched a film called The Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie, which is a 70s French film by Louis Buñuel. Completely plotless. Basically, the only plot is a group of bourgeois friends want to have dinner together, and they keep getting interrupted. And like, it just segues onto anything. Like a side character will pop up, and we'll just follow them for 15 minutes. We'll look at their dreams. A priest turns up because he wants to be a gardener. It's really random. It's a great example of style over substance, but really compelling, really funny, completely different to anything you've ever seen before. Give it a watch.
I watched a very, very strange film this week called A Dog's Journey. It's on Netflix. And it's got Josh Gad in it, so Olaf, who voices the thoughts of a dog.
Ooh.
Mm. And I don't want to spoil it, but it's basically the story. It's not coming of age story, but it follows a kid and a dog as the kid's growing up through different stages of her life. But it's strange because the dog dies. But then it reincarnates. Ooh. And then it's like the journey is this reincarnated dog, who's a completely different breed, not related to the dog that died, has to find the owner again. And it kind of happens 3 or 4 times throughout the film. And it's just it's really strange. It's kind of nice. Like, it's a bit of a pick me up, but not really, because obviously dogs dying is never fun in films.
Brilliant suggestions. So Josh, as you're our guest, would you like to tell the audience what we are discussing this week?
Yes. So this week. Topic is university and our experiences, because we all met at uni, spent a lot of time in the same rooms together, bouncing ideas off each other and critiquing each other, I think is fair to say. But yeah, that's the topic.
Yeah, so we all went to Solent University, where we all studied film. And then 2 of us went on to do a master's. I stayed to do a master's at Solent. But Jimmy, where did you go?
I went to the Metropolitan Film School in London, in Ealing.
To do?
Screenwriting!
Let's start with giving a little bit of background for those of us who don't know. So what we sort of did before uni, and then how that led into uni.
I was a little college boy, and so I was studying, if I can remember, because it doesn't seem like that long ago, but like so much has happened in like the years between them. My mind's just sort of like just pushing at the back. So I did English language for the first year, and then I dropped it, and then I did an independent project as one of my courses. But throughout college, I did some variation of film studies, performing arts, and what was the other one? Moving image, which was like a film as an art form. And that is basically where I was interested in film going into college anyway, so like the things that I chose were due to that. And initially, I wasn't actually going to go to uni. I was just going to do an apprenticeship or something, not necessarily with the skill set that I learned, but just something that will, give me some experience, put my foot in the door elsewhere, just in case I had no other idea. And then I thought to myself, like, I mean, I could just do uni. Like, there isn't really anything stopping me. I went through a few places and found out that Solent was the best one that was readily available to me, which was surprising because it was like where I lived. So I ended up going there, and it was a very good decision on my part, I think.
So I started studying film back in year 9. I actually studied media, and then for the final year of that course, it turned into film. So I got a GCSE in film. Always liked film anyway. At college, picked film as well. Learned a bit more about the theory, and that's where I got my first taste of screenwriting, which I always wanted to go into, to branch into. And then I wasn't going to go to uni. I was going to, a bit like James, I was going to go get a real job or something like that. And then right at the last moment, I changed my mind again, which sums me up. And I decided to go for it. So enrolled at Solent. Technically didn't get the grades for it, but they let me in anyway. Ha! What a mistake on their behalf. And then, I kind of followed the screenwriting path through uni, specialising in the third year in that as my final project. Went off and did a master's after that, after getting a good result. And now I have a job that is so memorable that I forgot I had a job.
Yeah, mine is not that different to everyone else's. So at school there was no real film or anything, so I don't actually know how I got into it really. But anyway, I went to college and there was a film topic, so I picked that, along with history, literature and geography. And I preferred film out of all of those, maybe a bit of history as well. And I wanted to do film at university, and Solent was the one I picked.
So I went to college and school before uni, like most people, and I'd always liked film, and just because it used to be something me and my mum would sit down, like while she's doing the ironing or something, put just any film on. Usually it was like Star Wars and the Harry Potter with her, but I started to, on DVDs, when those were a thing, you'd have all the behind the scenes stuff. So that was sparking the interest in the creation of film and TV and stuff. So I took, when I got, was it year 9 you did options? Yeah, it would have been. So in year 9 I wanted to do art, like graphic art and media and drama. But they were clashes and stuff, so I had to choose basically art or music. So I went with music, because behind the scenes music production and stuff like that was, because I can't play music, I can't read music, but I was interested in production. So I did that till college, and then I did, it would have been a media BTech, I think it was, at school, and then went on to doing, God, this is so long ago. When I went to college, I wanted to do like music production, which literally would be just the computerized side of stuff. But they wouldn't let me do it because of the media course that I chose to do was like too intensive or something. So I basically went full time at college doing media, or film and TV, I think it was called. I did that. Then I met you guys at uni and did our film course, which was amazing.
My story is slightly different, whereas the boys all did some sort of media. I actually had never done anything, because when I went to do my GCSEs, I was put in a pathway where we weren't allowed to do like media subjects. We had to do the English back, and then when I went on to A level, they didn't run the media course because there was no uptake for it really. So I went on and I did A levels in English literature, history, psychology and geography, which I dropped in the second year, and I got pretty good grades in that. Was pretty happy. I was going to go on and do a history degree, and then I was going to go do an English literature degree, and I kind of didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I went up to a few open days, and film kind of, I don't know, I just was like, oh yeah, no, I like films, I'm interested in that, I'll go and do that. But I'd never done anything, so I remember my first day I was so nervous. and the toss-up was between Bath Spa and Solent, and in the end I chose Solent, and I'm so glad I did, because I met some amazing people, and from having done no film and not really even ever being picked up a camera to going and doing some of the things I did, I'm pretty proud of myself. And then I went on to do a master's in like creative practice as a whole, so I did some other bits and bobs, and now I just work as a producer in the events industry. So that's all of our sort of backgrounds into before we came to uni. I was interested to see how you guys found sort of applying to Solent, because I had to obviously do my personal statement, which I spent like a couple of weeks on, and through UCAS, and then had like interviews and things. How did you guys find it all? Did you have the same sort of experience?
It was
Quite easy.
That was fine.
I think mine might have been similar to yours then, Emma. I don't know, because we kind of had a unit at college about applying to unis, and at that point I didn't really want to go, because at the time I was in a relationship, which I thought was going somewhere, and it kind of was putting me off leaving what I knew, because obviously moving to uni is a big deal for most people, because moving away from home or your local surroundings and stuff. So it wasn't on my immediate radar, and it also seemed like a lot of effort to basically carry on what I was doing. So I was like, nah, I won't do that. And then, not in that relationship anymore, my whole outlook on what I wanted to do kind of changed. So I did the personal statement thing, but I don't know if I had to do it or whether it was just kind of the college telling me to. Well, I definitely did the UCAS, and then I know people who didn't do it by the deadline and they still were fine. So I don't know what. Yeah, so I don't know why I was so stressed looking back on it.
It sounds scary, doesn't it? But I think you're dead right, Josh, when you said, people, the college like pressures you to build it up as a big deal and to get your personal statement dead right and everything. And to be honest, it's not as difficult and it's not as much of a big deal as it seems at the time. I think from your personal statement and everything, they're pretty much just getting an indication, like, are you a functioning human being? And I think it's 90% that interview that will decide, and you pretty much always do an interview, that will decide whether you really get a place or not.
I think as well with because I was interviewed by Claire,
okay.
And that almost was my first taste of whether I wanted to be there anyway, let alone doing the open days and looking around. Actually speaking one-on-one to obviously at the time I didn't know she was going to be one of our lecturers anyway, but it was nice to kind of, she would talk us through how it was going to run and what you would do.
I also had a similar experience, but instead of an interview, mine was at the open day, where again I had a one-on-one with Claire, because I'd never done film before, and I was panicking. I was like, I'm going to do a completely new subject at a degree level. Can I do it? And she was really reassuring. So like, another piece of advice is definitely try and talk to the people there.
Certainly in our experience, I think we've been extremely lucky with the lecturers we had, because they were all pretty much all absolutely fantastic. And we still some contact with them today, most of us. But these people, they're teaching these subjects for a reason. They're going to be passionate about it. They're going to want to talk about it. And if they don't, then that's kind of an alarm bell that you need to find out early. So do go to these open days and don't be put off by the interviews. They usually, I don't know about you guys, like the interview feels very informal from what I remember, without plugging Solent too much, but they do deserve it because it's a fantastic place. All of the lecturers there are caring and listen to you. And I think anywhere you go, if it's a good university, they'll understand that everybody comes from different backgrounds, not necessarily having studied before. And every university will make sure that in the first few weeks, you're all brought up to a similar level. So
that first year in every degree is bringing people back to that standard.
It's very good at uni as well, because like there's literally nothing stopping you from asking for anything. Like if you're asking for information or asking just questions about what's the best thing to do, or like just how you're feeling, there's like many different avenues of like where you could go and who to talk to, just to give you that information. And it's very useful facility to have.
Again, not to plug Solent too much, but I mean, I had a wonderful experience there. I think we were really lucky to have the lecturers we had, because not even on an academic level but on a personal level, I had a couple of issues throughout uni, and they were genuinely there for us. And I think definitely worth a little plug here to plug our lovely lecturers we had. So yeah, obviously Jackie Furby, Claire Hines, Terence McSweeney, John Hesse,
Joy,
Steve Desmond. I think before we move on to what our actual films, I think one thing we should address, and that's the big sort of argument for, do you live at home or do you live at uni? Because I think we have a lovely mix here of people who lived at uni, lived at home, and did both. So I think there's pros and cons for both. But I think the big thing people worry about by living at home is like, do you miss out? So James, you lived at home, and Ginny, you lived at home during your third year. What do you guys think about?
I lived at home mainly for convenience sake, because for me, it was like a 20-minute drive to get where I was going most of the time. So I literally just drove to where I work and parked up, and then it was like a 10-minute walk to uni. So half an hour altogether traveling. So it's not too bad. So that I didn't really see much use in me getting a house in the city when I just lived half an hour away. But that, in some regards, it's easier because you're in, you get to go home, and I got to be around my family, which I know a lot of people don't necessarily have access to all the time if they're at uni, because they're traveling up and down the country, and I was lucky enough to be so close to it. However, at the same time, it's the whole of from my understanding, because I didn't do it, but when you're living away, you have more opportunities to meet other people and socialize and go out and kind of have a sense of independence. So you're basically learning how to live before you go off into the world. I didn't have that opportunity. I did go out now and again. I get to crash on people's sofas and whatnot. But other than that, I still have a lot to learn in that field. But everyone else here has definitely had some experience in that, so they can tell you more about that. But for me, living at home was good, but there was, there's some things I wish I did a bit more in my time there. But overall, I think if it's an option to you, definitely consider it, mainly for both mental health reasons and convenience, really.
And I think the thing to think about now is, I think all of us, bar Josh, live back at our parents' now.
Yeah. It is a bit of a luxury living at home, though. Having done both, I did the first 2 years first year in hall, second year in a house in a student house, third year back home, and then for my masters, I had to live there. I couldn't really commute from Southampton to London every day, unfortunately. But look, they always say that the big benefit of living at uni is the social aspect, meeting up with people, but I don't know. I think that probably depends more on your personality. I think I was more social in the third year than I was in the first and second year. And certainly the friends I have now, like you guys, are not the people I was living with. I lived in a flat that was everybody else was doing football studies, and I'm not a fan of football.
That's the same as me.
Yeah, I think if I could go back and do it again, I probably would live at home the whole time. I actually think I definitely had far better attendance when I was living at home, because you had to make an effort to go in. You went in, you did it. You got on that train and you went to the lectures. But you're not going to miss out on everything by living at home, particularly if you live in the sweet spot close to home, like me and James, both about half an hour away. You can still do those social aspects. I would say if you're really not sure, either way, you're probably going to be fine, but don't think that you're going to have a massive disadvantage at making friends by living at home, because it's the people on your course that will probably be your lifelong friends, because you share those interests anyway. So don't be put off by it.
So when we think about what we did at uni, the five of us never worked together. Us struggling filmmakers only made one thing together, which we will show because it's funny.
Oh God.
In first year and stuff, and first and part second year as well, me and Josh worked together quite a lot.
My favourite films are ones we've done, actually.
Yeah. And Noah as well. Noah's Streetwalker.
Noah's in.
We need to talk about how that was made at some point, because that was a story.
This is what happened for Streetwalker. I think we had some ideas, but we had nothing concrete. we didn't really have anything like planned, and then we were on the day of shooting. We didn't even know it was the day of shooting, so we were basically like, we need an idea, and we need an idea fast, because the deadline was fast approaching. We weren't really sure, so we all sat down. It was me, Josh Barker, Josh Gardner. We were all basically having a chat about what we could do. I went to the loo, and in the loo, I came up with the idea within 3 minutes. And I came back, and I was like, this is what we're doing. And we're doing it now.
It was amazing because while he was away at the loo, the rest of the group, we were discussing, like, this is it. This is our first project at uni, and we have fucked it up. Because I think it was about a week before the deadline.
Yeah,
because
it was around.
Oh no, it was less than that. It was the week of the deadline, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
We had like 3 days to write it or film it, edit it, and then like sort it out.
But yeah, so that's basically what happened. We had that first idea. We filmed some of it. Realized we're probably not going to film any more of that because it didn't really go the way we hoped it would. So what's our plan now? Then I had my, I wouldn't really call it stroke of genius, but I had my idea. And they were like,
it's
right.
Such a first year uni idea, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Homeless.
Yeah, homeless person, and homeless people can be friends.
I made Soul Date with the girls that were still on the course at the time.
They all left, didn't they?
Yeah, there used to be multiple girls in the course.
And then there was one.
Yeah, so I made Soul Date, which was a sort of futuristic kind of film where you had a date on your wrist, and that's when you'd meet your soulmate. And I actually thought it was really, I actually still think it's quite good. I don't, obviously the concept and some of the films are good, but like, yeah, I can't say I had as dramatic experience as you. What did you make for your first film, Jimmy?
Split decision. Josh.
Me and Josh.
No, I was in it. Pete, who was on a few weeks ago, was in it.
I believe it was directed by Jordan Richard Nat.
Well, I'll tell you about the production history of this film. So I came up with an idea just about telling a visual story of 3 characters. One of them's evil, one of them's good, and then there's a guy in the middle. And you just film it framed so that the bad and good person's always on the shoulder, like a devil on the shoulder. So it evolved into a very interesting film about this guy who had been taking these bad drugs and had basically hallucinated a good aspect of his personality and a bad aspect. And we had a lot of fun filming it. I mean, there's one shot in that film I particularly like, which is which you see a lot in films now. I'm not saying we started the trend, but we started the trend.
Was it the spinny one?
Yeah, the spinny one. So we had to film a conversation, and we'd planned this shot list that was really long and complicated. And I think the day before we filmed it, we had the director of Flash Gordon, Mike Hodges, come in. And he was fascinating to listen to, worked on so many projects. And he mentioned how in the film called The Croupier, they had to film a dialogue scene, and they had also planned all these complicated shots and these different angles. And in the end, he said, well, why don't we just make it as easy as possible, and we'll just put the camera at this end of the table, and we'll just sort of flick between the 2 points of view without changing the angle. And we sort of used that as a basis, and we said, why don't we have a roving camera go around the table filming the conversation, and we'll just do like one continuous take, and we'll just integrate it with other stuff. So instead of spending hours filming all these different angles, getting a coverage, we basically just did like 3 takes of that.
It's the thing with like when you're doing most student films, whether or not it's your first time going or like whether you're doing your FMP, like nothing you ever do will turn out the way you expect it will.
Yep.
Regardless of whether or not it ends up worse or better, just what you have in your mind is not what is going to end up on screen. You got to keep your expectations in check. Basically, you're not going to do Scorsese on your first try, but you're not going to be awful either, because it's a learning experience, isn't it? So
who can remember what they did for their second film in first year? Because the brief was the brief was no dialogue.
No dialogue. Oh, yeah.
I don't know what our film's about, James.
I've
seen it loads of times. I still don't know what Panacea.
Oh, that's a whole other can of worms.
I don't know what it's about.
Where did that name come from, Panacea?
The Panacea is a Greek version of like a utopia, kind of. I don't outright hate Panacea, even though it's very They're very amateurish. It's not very good. Yeah. I do quite like the setting of it. I like the where we shot it. I like the forest area.
This is a science fiction, but not almost post-apocalyptic thing.
It's kind of Evil Dead-y.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
The whole point of it was to kind of, the guy wanted to hold on to the old tech, which was why he got arrested.
Yes.
But watching it now, because I watched it earlier, just to hold time's sake and stuff, but it comes across like it's a scene from a film rather than that's the film.
Yeah.
Because I think it could, like James says, you could go somewhere with it. But I think a lot of student films have that problem in a way.
Absolutely, particularly short films.
I love how you guys went sci-fi, and then my group, so it was just me, Brennan and Paige. Oh, I'm Mairead. We made a romance, and it's like you guys really went out there with a sci-fi one, and then we made this romance that is between a blind woman and a deaf man. And I remember just filming that, and the whole, because I lost rock paper scissors, so I had to be in it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something you'll see a lot of student films. And I remember filming that, and we filmed it, I think we did it in one day, but we did it went into the night. It was all these different scenes. We started out with the park scene, and then there was a scene, like a dinner scene, and Brennan cooked pasta, just plain pasta. And because it just been sat there and got cold, it was all stodgy. We had to eat this pasta, and it was disgusting. So there was like a bottle of wine, which I pretty much drank the whole thing, and just I remember editing it, and the outtakes I think are better than the actual film. Tell us about your final first year film.
Yeah, no, Sinless is one of the most proud of moments of my career, I think. It's a horror film, Sinless, just to introduce it. It's basically plotless. There's a girl stuck in the woods being chased by a demon played by me. And Ryan O'Hara is an absolute genius when it comes to anything practical, anything camera related, anything effects related. You give the guy 5 minutes in a room with 10 household objects and he'll create a scene for you or something. He's a genius, honestly. We bought all this antique crap, including a doll and some random bits, and we just left Ryan O'Hara for a bit. And we made this void setting, which had this seemingly floating telephone and all these weird objects. We bought this black cloth, which Ryan managed to turn into a demon outfit using just a coat hanger. And it actually looks, it's clearly Z grade low budget, but it looks better than it should by all accounts. We bought some balloons and filled them up with helium. And we had this really cool old mirror, which we hung up in the New Forest. And I think stylistically, it's quite a distinctive looking film for no budget, shot in the New Forest. There's a horse. We got a horse in one scene to walk in front of a phone box. It started walking in front of the phone box, and I shouted, Ryan, get on the camera, film this. And he did, and it has no reason to be in the film, but it looks good. And I think that film very nicely. It's got a really good performance from his friend, I think her name's Lucy. I'm very proud of that film. Ryan managed to, I don't know if it's even in the film, but we left Ryan alone for 10 minutes with a doll, like a baby doll. What do you call it? A fake
doll.
Baby. Yeah, a doll. We left him alone for 10 minutes. We came back and he's like, right, I've rigged this wire mechanism so we can wirelessly open and close its eyes. And I was like, how? How are you doing this? But no, kid's a genius.
Now moving into our second year, we started with a brief encounters unit with an optional choice to make a film. So that's where I made Mercy with a couple of others. Obviously we had talented Peter Nelson and a couple of others, and it's a really cool apocalyptic zombie film. It was the first time we were using a makeup artist, and we had some special effects that she made. She was amazing. Big shout out to Eden. She helped on so many things, and she's doing amazing with her modeling at the moment. But so it's a post-apocalyptic film, and the lighting is blue and reds, and it's constant, and it was the first time I was properly using colored light. I did the studio lighting in it, so it was doing different bits, programming things, which was so cool. And considering it was for no real credit, it was just an optional thing. I think there was a lot of time and effort that went into it, and that really helped making other films later on. I learned a lot from making that film.
Rewatching Mercy today, I only watched it a couple of hours ago. I was like, this still holds up quite well. Like, it's especially for like an optional-esque unit. I was really surprised at just how well it turned out. Like, I remember the screening where you first showed it, and I was like, oh dang,
Yeah,
that's really good.
I think it blew the whole room away, didn't it? It was stunningly good.
Did
Just
it
the light,
win
the light
something,
is
didn't
so
it?
good.
Yeah, it won something or two things.
It won an Oscar for best short film, but you know,
Definitely didn't.
it didn't
But
matter.
like, talking about winnings, James, your one won something.
I remember this. All right, okay. So I remember every single time that we had the Brief Encounters unit, I turned up for the presentation, the lecture bit prior to it. And I turned up every week just to, you know, see how things were going for people and what Terence was talking about and all of that. But the last week, I couldn't go, unfortunately, because I was either too tired or ill or faking being ill, something of that sort. But that week was the awards bit where they were going around saying like, oh, this film won this because of this and and I was like, oh, I don't need to go in today, and I slept, and I awakened to a message from Peter Nelson saying your film won something. I'm like, oh really?
I didn't know we won it either until maybe a year later, I think, when James finally told me.
It's a learning experience, I describe it, because we had a lot of plans and stuff for that, and you know, not everything works out, but it is what it is, unfortunately. We did manage to scramble something together in the end that I think ended up all right.
Oh, it's the coffin one.
One of the main reasons I don't like it is because my little brother's the main character, and yeah, he's I mean, he's all right.
He's all right, isn't it? He's quite good.
He's not too bad for what he did, but I remember that me and Noah had to do a bit of a casting. That was a fun little adventure.
Oh yeah, we went to your old school.
What happened was we needed two characters for this film. One of them was a young boy, and the other one was another young boy. We had someone casted initially, but that unfortunately fell through, so I ended up using my little brother. But we still needed that other person, and this was just like a voice only. I don't know many kids, unfortunately, who'd be willing to do this. So I was like, who do I talk to? I remember maybe I could email my old school's drama department. So yeah, basically I was friends with a lot of the drama teachers there, and I sent over an email saying like, hi, it's me. I don't know if you remember me, but can you do me this favor? And they're like, oh my god, yeah, come and do it. And so yeah, me and Noah made a trip down to my old school. We had a little casting session.
Me and Josh were helping out at the start of the production on that. I can't remember why it fell through. I think it was scheduling confidence because it fell through at last minute. And I think scheduling because you wanted to go and get the cast from the schools and stuff, and we were like, I don't think this is going to work. So we kind of not gave up, but I think we started focusing on other units and stuff.
Yeah, because it was at the end of the day, it was a unit that didn't necessarily have any.
You didn't need to do a film.
You didn't necessarily need to do it.
The final shot is really good, where it's your brother screaming and it zooms out to black.
Yeah, I quite like that shot because it was really easy to do, and everyone was like, "How do you do it?" And it's like it's not that difficult. So basically, what you had to do?
Yeah, it was really easy.
We had it as a close up of his face, and then I moved it back, and then in post production we faded to black. And then what we did was we did a separate shot of the coffin closed and put it directly in front of the coffin and then continue going backwards. So seamlessly it will go like that. So it goes straight through.
And it does look good. It looks...
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right.
That leads us on to Jimmy's one.
I think Ryan came up with the idea of this. This is a different Ryan. This is Ryan Francis Hoot. Shout out if you watch this one. I know usually you don't, but there you go. And... I'm not sure how the idea came about. No, we worked on this script together to come up with the idea of like an anthropomorphic dog who kind of falls in love with a cat, but it's about lots of different random things. The narrative's a mess. I think it's got some funny moments in it. I think we're trying to make a comedy. I think it has some good shots in it. I like there's a Biggie poster, and when the dog wakes up, he comes into the frame of Biggie Smalls. So that's pretty cool. I think the music is totally incongruous, but there you go. I think the title's the best bit of the film. I think the dream sequences are really nice with the bone, dreaming of a bone. But yeah, it's about a dog that's alive. Well, most dogs are alive. It's about a dog that's basically a human, and it's called Dogging, and isn't that brilliant?
I know you're going to enjoy this one, Noah. We are now moving into documentaries we made in our second year.
It was me, James, Josh, and other Josh, Uni and Jay, wasn't it? Uni and Jay featuring Noah.
We had a lot of different ideas going into it, but we just sort of ended up using what was available to us. And I was like, hey, I know someone with a trout farm. And they were like, hey, that's something we can do.
James, how do you just know someone with a trout farm?
I live near the country, mate. That's just what it is.
Oh, in the backwoods of Totton, there's a trout farm.
Morningbridge, actually.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know whether we were cursed as a group, but that was another moment where it was not last minute as much as Streetwalker was, but it was kind of like all of us have different interests, because the brief was do a documentary of something you cared about, and all of us kind of cared about different things, and nothing kind of seemed to stick for ages, and then all of a sudden James is like, I know a guy. And then a couple of weeks later we're in the freezing cold New Forest in Bordingbridge filming fish.
It was a good day out, wasn't it? It was a good day out.
Were you made to do anything, Noah, that you didn't feel comfortable with?
Yeah, let's talk about the scene.
Murder.
But before we talk about that scene, I want to say there are 3 shocking films in the world. There's a Serbian film, there's Cannibal Holocaust, and there's Inside Trout.
Inside Trout.
Is quite graphic.
They wanted me to kill the fish, and I was like, are you sure you want me to kill the fish?
Yeah,
Talk us through you're like how that scene occurred. And
I think it was literally just on the spot. I think James and Josh and everyone just said, just do it. And I was like, okay.
Up on him, and he did it.
And so the guy gave me the stick, and he just went, yeah, just whack it on the head. And that's what I did. I don't think I got it quite right, did I?
I mean, if it makes you feel better, you didn't necessarily kill it. You knocked it out so it could be ready to be killed.
But it was such nice pate I remember having. And then there's Jimmy's favourite bit where I swallowed that like tea or coffee and it's really hot and I'm like...
I was just about to mention that.
Jimmy goes on about this bit all the time.
It's feed into my brain because you're just there and you go, wow! Every time you're right, yeah, it's really hot.
It was such a cold, like November. Was it November, I assume?
Title. I go on about Dogging's title, but Inside Trout, for the time it was released, was a stroke of pure genius as well.
We did think about it for a while, didn't we, James?
Yeah.
Because at first, I think we were just going to call it Trout, and then it was something like...
I remember I came up with Inside Trout. And then I think you might have come up with Over the Rainbow as well. So it was initially going to be called Inside Trout Over the Rainbow.
Oh,
something like that.
Because they're rainbow trout. So and
Yeah.
then I think it just became Inside Trout at the end.
It's a tough act to follow Inside Trout, the masterpiece that it was. And by comparison, Man by the Seaside, which I shall talk about now, we went to Bournemouth Beach with the hope of doing this expose about old school seaside shops and business versus new commercial attraction. And we went there and nobody wanted to talk to us about anything. And then we ran into this bizarre man. He goes around collecting driftwood and makes them into guitars, I think, is what he does.
That's very niche.
There's not much to say about it. There's that scene. So there's a scene near the end where we were coming back from Bournemouth in Elliot's car. We were all tired. I was annoyed because I generally am. I was trying to sleep and they give me that little slap. I very literally just turned around and was going to be like, blah, 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 blah. But luckily I just turned around and give a little smile.
We made a documentary called Online/In Love.
Yes.
Which was a kind of a look into
Brennan.
Online dating. And we had 3 couples where we asked questions and then we switched that on with like vox pops and things like that. Unlike you guys, we actually got quite a few people who were happy to talk to us, mostly because we were at the Christmas market. So people were kind of like a little bit merry. And we just go, hiya, or can we just ask your opinion?
Can you talk about your love life? And they're like, yeah, sure.
It was the first time I'd managed to get a location. I got the top of Tapas Barcelona for free. And I got them.
Quite a big deal, I remember. Yeah, no, that was good.
So I went in and I actually talked to the manager myself. and was like, look, I'm looking for a location. I love your restaurant. I'd never eaten there before. I love your restaurant. It looks amazing. Can I have it for Saturday all morning? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, how we don't have any money, we're students. They were like, okay.
So I want to make a point to any students watching, to anybody who's thinking about making films in the future. All I'll say is, please don't pick a post-apocalyptic film, because they're difficult to make, and very rarely do they turn out very good. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying consider your options.
Now we're moving into our final films of our second year. So I can't remember what this unit. Oh, it was signature filmmaking.
This is our signature, is it?
Yeah. So Jimmy, I think you should lead the way with your one.
Hey, I was in it as well.
I worked very closely with my dear friend Noah on a film called Don't Stand Too Close, which was another one of Ryan Francis Hume's inventions. The plot deals with a middle-aged school teacher or college teacher who begins a relationship with one of her female students following a messy divorce. It's not a very good film. Like, narrative, there's nothing to the story. There's no conflict. There's no drama. Nothing happens. It's all shot in a classroom. It couldn't look more studenty. It's got some really good background performances from these kids. The only real benefit to come out of this film is I worked with one of the best actors I've ever worked with, if not the best actor I've ever worked with.
We didn't like the final edit as well, did we?
No, that film was always meant to be re-edited. That was meant to be a cut of it, like a working cut.
I don't know. I just kind of quite enjoyed it. I liked being on set with Jimmy and Elliot and Ryan. It was good fun.
And me.
Emma was popped up there.
Yeah, James and I broke away for this film, for this unit, sorry, and it was our first time working together. We made a film called Dollhouse, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
Again, shout out to James's parents for having a house, which we used.
You think asking my parents if I could clear out a shed was difficult?
Asking them your entire downstairs.
The entire house. Ugh.
It was, yeah, I think it had potential.
I ended up being assistant director in the end, which it was not too bad, I think.
And even though it was like kind of a boring subject matter, I think it was kind of, the whole point was to display something that was like trivial and a little bit boring and make it like exciting. And I think it kind of does that. And that was also the first time we had Ryan O'Hara as well, because he used his drone and we got this brilliant opening.
Yeah, they were cool shots.
Yeah, that comes in on one house and it's supposed to symbolize it could be like any house.
I got a little fun fact. As of recording today, we were on our second day of shooting 3 years ago today.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, we were. It came up on my Snapchat.
But yeah, that was ours. Do you want to talk about yours, Josh?
Union J had divorced amicably for this year. I think we all wanted to work with different people, but I couldn't get with anyone in time. So we were kind of forced into a kind of group of three. I think it was maybe Luke Hardy was with us. No, it was just me, the other Josh, and Myron. And Myron wanted to write the script.
And I did a wolf one.
It was the wolf one. I was convinced it was a good idea, to be honest. I thought actually we can ground it and make it work.
Yeah.
And I remember Josh buying a wolf costume, and in the end we scrapped it. And I said to Josh, I was like, I have a film that is halfway shot, because in first year, going off back of Streetwalker, I have an acting friend who wanted to get some showreel footage. And we ended up over, I think it was Christmas, designing a web series that was around like Oliver Twist. But we used characters and set it in the universe of Streetwalker. And Josh and I sat down and saw what I'd already got. And we're like, right, we'll put this into a film. I don't think we shot anything new for it. We just re-edited it so it was a standalone thing rather than a series. I am proud of it. What's upsetting now is it never got released. It exists on my YouTube channel in private. We had a Fagin type character who was basically the head of a group of homeless people, but the actor we got for him was from my hometown, but he has actually been in decent films. He was in the King Arthur film recently. But yeah, it was fun. I think it's an all right film actually, but it has aspects that I learned more as we went along. But yeah, that was Oliver. Maybe I put it public again. We'll see.
That brings us to our final year, where I don't think, unless you did the FMP, you didn't really make a film as part of uni, did you? No. So Noah, Jimmy, and James, you guys all did screenwriting. So basically we got to pick either whether we did a dissertation, a group film, or a feature-length script. And the three of them chose a feature-length script. And then Josh and we did the group film. So Josh, we in different groups. I made a film with Peter, Ryan, and someone else. And basically it was this fantasy, fictional medieval piece called Oathbreaker. We were looking at how we could integrate sort of Game of Thrones vibes, because Game of Thrones was finishing when it would sort of be coming out, so we thought we'd have a nice audience to sort of roll off, and it was a very popular genre at the time. It was really good, really enjoyed filming it. I think we filmed it maybe 7 days of filming, and the footage came out amazing. We managed to get this living history village for free of charge, and just before we'd filmed there, one of the episodes for Doctor Who had just filmed there. But yeah, I enjoyed making that film. It was definitely a hard film to make, and aspects made it more difficult than it needed to be, but definitely a learning curve.
I filmed my FMP, which we called Virtue, down the road from where you guys shot Oathbreaker. Also an old Doctor Who location. I'm proud of my film, but I hate its guts. I can't describe how frustrated I am at the film, because it had the makings to be something really good, but things that fell through were everything that you couldn't change. I think that's a good learning curve as well, is things change on the fly, and sometimes there isn't avoiding whatever it is. So for us, it was a sci-fi, it was set in the future of almost alternate Earth, where governments had basically, it was kind of political in the sense that you had two sides of the same coin, and they were fighting over a crystalline power. One wanted to use it for weaponry, and one was more for like healing people. We had the stunt coordinator from Last Jedi helping us out on that, and he flaked on us. I don't know what happened. But what's frustrating for me looking back on it is there's so many opportunities through the edit. A cutaway of this would have been great, but because of time constraints, you didn't get those cutaways or those extra shots. And there was a lot of drama behind the scenes. Like I was supposed to be the editor, but I had to work a ridiculous amount in my final year because I didn't get a student loan because they mucked me up. So basically to live, I had to work this. I think I did about 30 odd hours plus uni for quite a few months during final year. So I did a lot. And because of that, I had to reduce my role. So it was the best thing for the film, but unfortunately it meant that there's things that I would have done differently. It was good. I watch it fondly, but not because I like it, more because I remember what happened behind the scenes.
Anything you guys wanted to say about the script writing?
I think the best thing about doing script writing in the unit that we did is that we had a lot more freedom and time to do what we wanted to do. Because with dissertations, you have to spend a lot of time researching, and with FMP, a lot of your time is spent on planning, location scouting, getting your actors together, getting funding, everything. But with script writing, we were just like, we have to go to one place a week, we have to discuss what we want to talk about, and then you write in your own time. And I think it gave us a lot of creative freedom to do what we want to do. You could have as many discussions as you want. It just really shows, like, if you don't want to do a film, you don't have to do a film. Because I know it's a lot of stress for some people. I knew it was for me. That's why I didn't want to do it.
I think with it, when you pick a script to do a script feature, you have to have the right tutor for sure. That is interested in your genre and your story. Like I had no end of support with my story because it struck a chord with my tutor. So I had a lot of help on that, and it was really good. I'll just say about my script. Towards the end of my masters, I actually had the pleasure to pitch it to a panel of experts, one of which was the producer on Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Wow.
Oh, wow,
Yeah,
that's cool.
who
very
very
cool.
much he liked it. He liked the idea of it.
What was the idea again? I can't remember.
It's an aging porn director who can't find love in his own life.
That's it. Yeah.
And it's about the struggle.
I can see him liking it now.
Yeah, yeah.
What was it called? Hard Love or
I can see
something?
that going as a Monty Python sketch.
He really liked it. Mark really liked it. It
Hard
was
Love, wasn't it called Hard Love?
indeed called Hard Love. I had to fight for that title. But no, I thoroughly enjoyed writing that script. One day I will return to it and I will make it good. I think it's okay as it is. It needs a lot of work. I've learned a lot since then. But
Absolutely honoured to have Josh on the podcast this week. So thank you very much.
my pleasure.
Josh Barker, everybody.
Yeah.
The rest of us, we've been 4 struggling filmmakers. We are going to continue to struggle despite us all having our degrees. You guys continue to stay safe and we'll catch you next Sunday. Bye.
Bye.